All right. So once again, welcome to our Subcontracting 101 training series. This is our part two, our second training. If you did not get a chance to look at the first training in the Subcontracting 101 training series, please go to the YouTube channel when you get the link. Go to that, look at that. It was very good. A host of information, and we had a lot of engagement there. I had a guest prime contractor who was on there who provided some phenomenal information for you. And so that particular training was about readiness and capability. So as you know, as a subcontractor, while you want to focus on getting your certification with one of the local government entities, or if you're at the state government level entity, or even the federal government level entity, the certification is just the threshold to everything. It's not the golden ticket to everything. And so there's a sense of readiness and capacity that you need to have, or that you want to work towards, being a prime or ideal candidate to work on a contract with a prime contractor, and really to kind of know how the various nuances of partnering up with those contractors actually work in your favor or to your benefit. And so that particular training was about capability, capacity, readiness, which again further substantiates the fact that it was a really great webinar. And so even if you don't think that you would benefit from that webinar, I just think it's a really good webinar training to just revisit and take a look at it and learn some of the stuff that was shared in that. So again, I'll make sure that you have the YouTube channel link if you don't already have access to it, and you can go and take a look at that. So today, part two, we're talking about capability statements. And this is a huge leveraging tool for our subcontractors in building those relationships with prime contractors, and really using it as a communication tool to be able to basically share your story and let the prime contractor know what your competencies are, what your performance looks like, who you are, what the scope of work is that you do, your differentiating pieces. I think the most important, like one of my favorite parts of the capability statement, is the differentiator piece. And Miss Donna will go through, she has a really great presentation to share with you today on that. But I'm just going to touch on real quick differentiators. One of the things that I always want businesses to understand about differentiators is that I think sometimes, because we live in this society where everyone tries to be better than each other, differentiators put you in a position where you're not necessarily trying to be better than your competition. You're trying to be different. You're trying to figure out, okay, in this world of a highly competitive market, especially government contracting at any level, this is competitive. Just because I'm good at what I do doesn't mean that they're going to want to work with me. Just because I'm good at what I do doesn't mean that I'm always going to be the one that gets the opportunity. So what is going to make you step out, like stand out rather, so that people want to work with you, is really being able to, one, identify your scope. I have had so many conversations over the past 7 years of being in this space with business owners who don't really understand how to communicate their scope, right? When someone asks you what you do, like you know what you do in your head, but it's difficult sometimes to be able to translate that into a language that people are going to benefit from. And so I think that's the first thing that I think is really important for business owners to kind of gravitate to, is figure out a great way to be able to communicate what you do, and not just communicate it, but communicate it in a very concise way. Okay, so one of the things I also want to say, that's one of the things that we're working on doing in the fall of this year, is we're working on having like I kind of put it in the way of like a speed dating, but it's not speed dating at all. It is matchmaking, but not really matchmaking either. It's kind of it's putting you, like, we're gonna have, I want to plan putting some, like maybe having 10 to 15 prime contractors in a space, and like you all are just going, like subcontractors or people who want to be subcontractors are having 5 minutes to basically pitch themselves to these prime contractors, give them your capability statement, and really have, because sometimes that's all you have is a quick 5 minute elevator ride to let somebody know what you do. That's why understanding the scope of work that you do is so incredibly important, so that people can, by the time they're finished on that elevator ride, or by the time they're finished with that conversation, they know whether or not you could possibly be of value to them. So we're working on doing something like that here in the county within the Office of Contract Compliance towards the end, like in the fall, early fall. So be on the lookout for that. But differentiators are just that. They're ways that you can identify how you're different than your competitor in the market. What makes you attractive? What makes me want to go with you versus going with someone else in the market who does the exact same thing that you do? And maybe it's not all the time about coming out at a cheaper price, right? Maybe it's, you don't always want to go cheaper, but you want to definitely have, maintain value with your services. And so that's all I'm going to say about differentiators. It is one of my favorite components of the capability statement, but I'm sure Ms. Donna has it to give to you. So with that said, I am going to introduce Ms. Donna Beasley, who is the director of the Apex Accelerator, which is formerly known as the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. I know we're all familiar with PTACs in and around Illinois. In my former role, few years back, I was the associate director at the Procurement Technical Assistance Center at the WBDC, and is where I learned a lot of information about government contracting from a personal standpoint. And so I know that she's going to have a lot of information to share with you. So, Miss Donna, I am going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to stop sharing because you'll have the ability, or I don't even need to stop sharing. Like, if you're ready to share something, you can just share.
All right. Well, I want, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, I actually, funny thing, I actually took Makeda's place after she left. So, we've been running around in the same kind of government circles for the last few years. But I am happy to be here and share with you information about capability statements, because it is a important I would say tool in your toolbox as you pursue any type of government contracting. And so let me know if you can see that. Can everybody see my slides? You're on mute, Makeba.
Let me stop sharing mine and see if that changes anything.
Okay.
Yep, now we can see it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm going to share with you some of the ins and outs of great capability statements, and I'm going to share some with you, and we can have kind of an exchange, because I'm going to ask you your opinion on a couple of these, and you can feel free to unmute yourself and comment on them. Just so you know, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, which Makeba talked about, is what Apex Accelerators used to be called. We were at PTACs for about 30 years. And about 18 months ago, the Department of Defense took us over and changed our name to Illinois Apex Accelerators. The Apex doesn't stand for any acronym. It just means that we're helping you get to the apex of success in your government contracting journey. And there are 9 Illinois Apex Accelerators in Illinois. Actually, there are 12. They just announced 3 new ones today. And then roughly 97 across the United States. There's one in pretty much every state. So, and I won't go through all these, but just know that we are here to help you in your government contracting journey. And we offer a lot of services and tools that can be of use to you in terms of one-on-one advising. We have various trainings. We're actually doing a boot camp that launches March the 7th on it's called GovCon Government Contracting Boot Camp for beginners. So that's something we haven't done before. So that's kind of a new opportunity to help you, as you in your journey in government contracting. But today we're here to talk specifically about capability statements. And it is really basically a, one-page document has been the traditional way. Like a business, a resume, it actually points out, your strengths. And as Makeda said earlier, what makes you different and special. And so we're going to look into, how that looks for you. And I'm going to share some examples of capability statements, and I'm going to share a makeover so that you can see how a good capability statement can go from good to great. So, we kind of hit on these things, that basically a capability statement is primarily a marketing tool. It is a way to give a great first impression of your business or second impression if you've already met the person or company. It's a way to expand your brand and your brand awareness on whatever project you're working. And it's targeted to your audience. So it doesn't have to be one and done. Sometimes you need two versions of your capability statement so that you can, so say, for example, you're an IT company and you do hardware and software. Well, you may have one that's focused on your past performance in software and another where you're past performing in hardware, depending on who you are targeting with your capability statement. So it's a working document. And while one-page documents are the norm, 2 pages are becoming more popular, and that's front and back. So it's not like but you can also put these on your website. A lot of companies that do a lot of government contracting, they actually have a link where where a government agency or prime contractor can click on that, and the actual capability statement drops down. So we're going to look and we're going to kind of break down those things that actually go on a capability statement. But here are some ways you can use it. So, of course, trade shows. I'm really big on trade shows. And you don't necessarily have to take it with you, because in trade shows, the people who are vending often don't want to carry stuff home. So the way I recommend using them for a trade show is get the business cards and the information of the people you want to do business with, and then send them your capability statement via email after you've returned. Say, I met you at the trade show. Cook County just recently had their trade show, and that would have been a great way to use your capability statement, following up with everyone you met there and sharing that information with them. Outreach. Some people use it. You do email campaigns to prime contractors and government agencies they want to work with. This is a way that you can send out your capability statement, outreach, and say, I want to introduce you to my company. I'm interested in doing business with you, and review our capability statement. And so that's one of the ways. Virtual events, industry days. So 3 and 4 industry days and virtual events are very similar. This is a virtual event that we're having here today. And you, for example, could, if you wanted to, send your capability statement to me for review. It's a way of connecting with the speaker. You can say, I was on your presentation today, and, I'd like some information. And you can do that with any of the events that you go to that are virtual. But industry days are different. Industry days are when a agency is actually bringing their people to introduce them to you as potential vendors and subcontractors, and saying, this is how you can work with us. And each department often shares what projects they have coming up down the pipeline, what is in their procurement. And so same thing, to get off the call. This is the best thing about industry days, as far as I'm concerned. They actually give you their name and email. Almost every speaker gives you their name and email. And that information is hard to find. So you write that information down, you reach out to the people you're interested in, and you send your capability statement. Team and engagements are, you're in a subcontractor training. So subcontractors are sub to the prime. So the prime could be your client, not necessarily the Cook County agency. So this is a way for you to connect with prime contractors you're interested in. You can also send your capability statement to them as well. And, obviously, presentations and anything you're doing live on a site visit where you're actually visiting someone. So they have a lot of uses, and they're very, very common in government contracting, and a very important marketing resource that you'll need. So these are the key areas we're going to talk about today. Overall branding, company data, core competencies, differentiators, and past performance. Because these are all things that help you make a really great capability statement. So company branding, of course, that's more than one thing, but the capability statement should fit in whatever your company branding is. So if, here at the WBDC, we use purple a lot. So you can see in my background, you can see the purple, you can see in my slides that I've got purple, you can see in our logo in the lower right-hand corner that we've got a purple logo. So you're looking at, my business cards are in purple. So we have that branding going, and your capability statement needs to fit in with that. So it's not different from your website and social media. The logo, themes, colors, they all need to play a role in your overall branding. The capability statement is one tool in the overall branding, not the only tool. All right, so company data, this is what I call the common sense stuff that you wouldn't think people forget. But sometimes they forget to put their NAICS codes on, or they forget to put in the actual point of contact, who to call. If you've got any kind of certifications, they should be mentioned on there. And of course, there should be links to your website or your LinkedIn if that applies to you. So these are like the common sense things about data. You don't need a physical location unless you actually have like a store, or you want, you could put your office number on there if you don't mind, that, but it is not necessarily, you don't have to have the physical, because generally speaking these days, people reach out first via email. All right, so let's take a look at some of these capability statements. So anybody, I'd like to get your opinion on this one. So feel free to unmute and tell me what you think. Anybody got any comments on this one? What do you like or don't like? Don't be shy.
Hi, I just wanted to know, what is this on Word or is this on Excel?
This particular one, well, it could be Word, it could be PowerPoint, it could be done by a graphic designer in InDesign. We don't really know.
Okay,
Yeah, but
okay. Well,
but
it's really nice.
So I have
okay.
in the chat, Ms. Donna, some answers. So some people say hard to read text, too many words, it looks very busy. Yeah, a lot of people said it looks busy and has too many words.
All right, so good. All of those are really good comments, and so it does. It's kind of that dark background makes it a little hard to read. But all in all, it's got a lot of good points. So for example, it's got the the logo on the right. It's got the fingerprinting thing, so you kind of know right away what they do. One thing I like about this is that they didn't use bullet points for everything. They have these little check marks here for their differentiators. That alone makes it kind of different than what other people have. And then they listed some things under key differentiators, because I'm with Makeba. This is one of the things that businesses mess up the most, is getting those key differentiators. So some things that, and we're going to look at the no-nos on this, but some things that, like full service firm with 20 plus years of biometric background screening and consulting experience. Normally, I'm not a big component of the add 20 years, 10 years, or whatever it is. But the fact that it's biometric background screening, that, does give them a differentiator. I like the fact that they have FBI approved channeler, live scan, and ink mobile finger. These are things that differentiate them from maybe other companies. I like that their code capabilities are really clear, and they use these little icons to give it some visual interest. So I think that's a plus. And then they have some past performance that they put together. But they do have a lot. For my taste too, it's a little on the busy side, but they've got a lot of, I think, good things going for them on this one. What about this one? What do you think of this one?
Yeah.
What'd you say, Cynthia?
Yeah.
You like this one better? Yeah.
Yeah, we have Ross said it's easier to read. It's clear. like the setup of information on this one. So this
You
one,
want it?
Yeah.
Lynn says there doesn't seem to have a differentiator section, and basically
Looks,
says easy to read and not that busy.
all right. All right, very good, because this is an HVAC company. And their core competencies are easy to do because, of course, this is what they do every day, right? Their past performance is good. They give us really good examples, but they're differentiators that suck. Okay, these are terrible differentiators. 50 plus years of experience in the HVAC industry. Is that really different in your mind than somebody that said 25 years or 10 years? No, that's not something that's really our work is guaranteed. Well, who works with an HVAC company that doesn't guarantee their work? Nobody. So those are not really differentiators. This really needs some work on that. So that but by and large, the layout and the look and the colors are all, part of their branding. But it's clear. It's easy to understand, even if you don't like the overall design. All right, so let's talk about core competencies. So core competencies are not everything you can do. This is one of the things that makes capability statements too busy. You put everything on there that you know how to do instead of focusing on those core things you do better than anybody else. That when you start looking at your core competencies, it needs to be what you do excellent. Not just, yeah, we can also do this. Focus on what you do. Target specific needs. In that example I gave of the hardware software company, you might have multiple versions so that you can work if you're working in more than one industry. If you have two businesses that are totally different, do not put them on the same capability statement. It's confusing and it says that you're not an expert. When as a contracting officer has a problem to solve. And they are looking for a business that can help them solve their problem. And if there's 4 or 5 businesses that submit their capability statement, and yours has 2, 3 different things that you do that is unrelated to my problem, I'm less interested in you than the expert who's been doing this and working on my kind of problem and giving solutions to other businesses. I'm going to pick them over you. So think about, what you're putting on there that really you can do, and target the right version to the right opportunity. And do not use long paragraphs. Unfortunately, people today do not like to read. They want, even you said, those ones that were too busy, you didn't like those, right? You want it to be clear, crisp, bullet points when you can get them, and tailored to your needs. You don't want to read long paragraphs. All right, so here's the next one. What do you think about this one? Any comments in the chat?
This one looks great.
The font is bigger, better readability, they say.
Yep. So this one is easy to to read and to understand. And they use a different kind of heading, that wide band at the top in blue. Capability statements, in my opinion, is way too big. It should not be bigger than the name of the company. I would make this a lot smaller. The other thing is, though, but I like the little things that they use when they did their core competencies. I can quickly see what it is that they do. They listed the past performance. Now, I personally would rather see less, like they have, I don't know, 4, 8 of these. I would rather see 4 and they tell me what they did in a one line for each of the 4, as opposed to 8 of them and I have no clue what they did for, So that's one thing. But the way that they listed past performance, they did not do it. It doesn't look like they did it by company. It actually looked like maybe they did it by what they've done in the past. So I would have liked to see that kind of combined a little bit, but they would have had to cut down on the number of past performance they featured. And they put their clients differently. So usually past performance and the clients are together. You know, you do Space and Naval Warfare Systems Command, and then tell me what you did for them in a one-line kind of thing. To me, that would be a better use of these four that they featured clients, and tell me what they did as a past performance for those four would be more powerful to me than just listing the things they did in past performance and not associating them with any one company. But other than that, they did a good job on the their codes, the feature, the layout. I think this is a really good example. What about this one? This is the interesting thing about this. This is a local guy, right? A local company in Green Bay, Wisconsin, doing, most of their clients are going to be local, but they've also done work, government work. They've done projects for the National Guard, for example. I think this is a good example where they didn't actually mention their core competencies, but instead they let the pictures do the talking, right? We know that they printed stuff for the Guard. We could probably those hats. You've got the backs of the various shirts. They can do groups. And I think they said core competencies with pictures rather than words. Even though they talked about them down here in terms of apparel, screen printing, embroidery, the pictures in this case, the other thing that I really like about this is that they used the differentiator that they used was the fact that you have the benefits of 2 account managers that will be able to answer any and all questions. You will have direct communication with the sales manager through the entire process. And we believe them. Why? Because they told us the only people we're going to be working with are Kevin and Todd. They're right on the capability statement. So it's different, but it's clean. And it does a good job, I think, for this company in terms of what it is they do and the services they provide. All right, so this is Makeba's favorite one, right? Differentiators. And she talked to you about those earlier. And, and one of the lines she said that I really love is not that you're just looking at what you can do and how good you are, but what makes you different. That's, it's inherent in the word. You are looking for things that make you stand out and that show a difference between what you sell and what your competitors sell. So it's not necessarily the most popular feature, but what is the benefit to the clients? And what is it something you have that your competition is lacking? Now, in order to know that, you got to know something about your competition. Look them up. Go to their website, visit them on LinkedIn, see what it is that you can say that would separate yourself on your capability statement from theirs. So differentiators are not these things. Generic statements, static, never changing, one type fits all. These are all terms that you don't want to be using. Quality. Quality is expected. That's a norm. I've already commented on the 25 years experience. In the eyes of a buyer, the difference between a professional who's been at it 10 years and one that's been at it 20 years is not that different, because the 10-year guy is going to be simply just as capable as the 20-year guy, right? Because he's seen it all, just like the 20-year guy. So it's not an advantage. The fact that you're woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned is a given if that qualifies you, but it is not a differentiator because many of your competitors are also. What solution are you providing? Just saying that you provide a solution means nothing. And, these terms like best in class, world class, best of breed, these are common, but no way to really prove that. So it's not really a differentiator. So when you start thinking about what sets you apart, remember what Makeba said, is not just good, but different. What makes you different? What makes you stand out? So with that, and then there's past performance. This is very, very important in government contracting. You have to have proven that you have done the work that you are proceeding to apply for. Nobody wants to work with a beginner. That's not your tax dollars at work. So if you've done the work in the private sector or the corporate sector, use that for your past performance to catapult yourself into government contracting. But you've got to show that you can do the work and that you've done the work and that you have examples of clients that you've worked for. If you're new to the government marketplace, like I said, use your corporate and private experience. You can even use experience if you've been an employee. Say, for example, you've been an employee in the IT field or in the logistics field for, say, 10 years, and now you're starting out on your own, and you can show that the work that you did during that 10-year stint as a professional in logistics, maybe you worked as a driver and you worked as a in terms of loads, you may have worked with actually scheduling the jobs. So if you can show on your personal resume how you have done, you can also use some of that in your capability statement to show how you can do the work and instill that level of confidence that you have it in you to do what needs to be done. All right, so I'm going to stop here and open it for questions, and then I'm going to show you a makeover. So any questions so far? All right, if there's none, then we're going to go right into the makeover.
Are you all sure that you don't have any questions? Anybody have any questions that you want to ask in the chat or that you want to come off of mute really quick and ask? Anybody?
Well, we'll get another chance to at the shortly, because this is a short section here.
Well, I do have a question, Donna.
Okay.
If you have a business that, like my company is a consulting company, and I have a team of consultants that work with us, I can use their experience in the past experience, can't I? Or can I?
That depends, I guess, on the job. It's hard to do that. If you're listing the consultant, let's just say you're doing leadership coaching, okay? And you, as your company is getting the contract, and in that list of what you're going to do, you're going to use your SMEs, your subject matter experts, or who's going to teach it. In that case, it works fairly well, But if, on the other hand, you're doing construction and you are looking to, you're going to be looking to do, to build something, and it's going to be harder to, as a general contractor, if you don't actually have experience managing jobs as a general contractor. So even though you're going to use a plumber and electrician and, a architect and all of that as part of the job, you still have to show that as a general contractor, you've done the work. So, that's one of those maybe depends kinds of answers. It depends on what the opportunity are, because if you are a contractor and you're looking for a company that is a plumbing company, and the person who is the lead doesn't know anything about plumbing, again, as a contracting officer, I'm less inclined to use them than I am the plumber who runs a business. So, it just, you got to weigh that on how you position it. you
Mhm.
know, because subcontractors in themselves are self-employed. They do not work for you. You know, they're self-employed. Every independent contractor or freelancer is a self-employed individual. They are
Right.
not necessarily your employees. So it's hard, it's hard to do that. It would be, it could work, but most of the time it wouldn't work.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Donna, we do have a couple of other questions in the chat real quick.
Okay.
How much information needs to be on the capability statement that describes the projects?
Well, capability statements are not necessarily project oriented. It's not one project per se. Your past experience must relate to the project you're going after. And so long as that section relates and what your overview of your company relates to your being able to do that work, that's really all you need. You don't necessarily, it's broader than an individual project. When you start listing, in the examples that we looked at, if you're an HVAC company, you don't really have to go into the details on any particular project. You just got to I got to know you can do heating and air conditioning and clean the ducts. And, I've got to know that's your core competency fits the job that you're going after. So I think that that would be the key on a project basis. If you were looking at how to impress a prime or a agency on your abilities, then it would be in your core capabilities to do the work that they're looking to contract you for. Anything
Okay.
else?
Yeah. So, let me see. Irene, we probably don't have the ability to get like deep into her question, but basically if anybody has any like suggestions, you can definitely put them in the chat to kind of help with Irene's issue. But she said her company is dump truck. So, we haul from job sites. I'm having a hard time with differentiators. And so the first thing that I would suggest to Irene is like really get a handle on so it's hard to understand and dictate what your differentiators are if you don't have a strong handle on your scope of work, right? And so the first thing that I would suggest to Irene is really, really, really get a handle on what you actually do in terms of scope, even if it's more than one type of scope. Like what is your scope? Because then once you get an idea of what your scope of work in, that's kind of like the tree, and then the branches you can kind of turn into various differentiators, like how you do that. Is there a certain type of truck that you use? Is there a certain type of method that you use to haul whatever from job sites? Is there something that you've actually had a certification in, or you've done some additional professional development in, that gives you a highly sought after skill set? And that skill set contributes to the difference between how the average Joe might haul stuff from a job site and how you might haul stuff from a job site. And if there's something that you don't have in place right now, that's kind of how you figure out what certifications or what additional skill sets you might need to cultivate, because that's really where differentiators come from, is what does the owner have that is so highly sought after, or that makes him or her such a valuable asset that nobody else has, or it gives you that to leverage. So Ms. Donna, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that also.
I think that's an excellent answer. I tell you what I will add at the end. I actually have a example I can show you. I'll pull it up from a company, and we can look at what they did and see if they're because they're the only example I'm going to show you of a 2-page capability statement, and they happen to be one hauling is one of the things that they do. So that could be of help. But as far as an answer, I don't think it could be better said than what you just said.
Okay. And then the last question for now is, if our business does more micro purchases, would we do anything different for the capability statement?
Well, micro purchasing is the capability statement basics are the same. Micro purchases are a little harder to find. It's harder to, even come in contact with a lot of those things. But as far as reaching out to buyers and things, the process is the same. It's finding the right, in government contracting, the most important thing you can do is understand who buys what you sell. The second most important thing is to know your scope, so of what it is you're trying to sell, so that it can be a fit. So you've got to, but the basics of whether you're going for a $10,000 contract or a $100,000 contract, the basics of a capability statement remain the same. All right. All right. So let's take a look at this makeover. And we'll have time for questions again at the end. I think, how's our time, Makeba? Okay. But as you
Sorry,
look at,
it's 2:50. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I'm sorry.
okay,
It's 2:50, so we have about 10 more minutes and
okay,
then maybe 5 minutes for questions because I have another appointment at 3:15, so we can kind of
okay.
focus on the next 15 minutes.
All right, so let's take a look at this capability statement. Now, this capability statement is organized, but the words capability statement are on the left side and the company logo on the right side. When people read from left to right, the company name should be the first thing they see. And the name is almost smaller than the words capability statement. This company data is in the power position. That should be like, I don't know, in this case, maybe down at the bottom. What the company is about should be on the left side. Again, because people read left to right. When you look at these core competencies, increasing engagement, persistence, equity, and inclusion, that's industry speak. That doesn't mean anything to the average person. Differentiator, proprietary evidence-based scientific matching. Again, industry speak. Who knows what that really means? And then this past performance, I really like. They serve 3 different clients in the US, corporate, nonprofit, and government, and they give us an example of each. So I think that is really good. But do we really know what they do? The first line is compatibility, proprietary matching methodology that learns about people and predicts who should be working together. Really? Like how? I mean, what, again, it's not really giving us anything we can sink our teeth in. So, and this company is a people company. You can't even tell that from this. It doesn't, the information is there, but it's not impactful. So here's the makeover. Bam. So much better, right? First of all, the picture adds huge, now we know when they're in the people business. The logo is in the power position, and the about us, they revised it so that we know what they do. So they have 2 platforms. One is for mentor connection and one is for roommate connections. A lot clearer. The past performance is exactly the same as the past performance they had over here, but now they've used the logo and it's added so much more impact than what they had before. And now when you look at their core competencies, enhances employee experience and engagement. We understand that. Strengthens productivity and goal attainment and increases retention. That's stuff we understand. Good core competencies. Differentiators. Unique matching methodology with proven success. They create efficiencies through automation, and they provide real-time data to inform matching, and they monitor participation. So these are really good things. And moving it to the bottom of the page is the company data to the bottom of the page didn't take anything away from the capability statement. It went from, what I say, blah to wow. So just think about how when you're setting yours up, that these are the things that you look at that could be beneficial. So with that, I think that we've covered everything. Make sure that you you have your various areas, core competency, differentiators, and past performance, because these are the things that set you apart. Make sure to include your point of contact, and try not to use info at my company, because nobody wants to do business with info at my company. They want to do business with you. So I always say the owner's name is better. Donna at WBDC, or Donna at as opposed to info@WBDC. There's something more personal, and it should be either the owner or, or some high-ranking official, because employees come and go, right? But the owner's going to be there. And then, you might have a different version for a government agency versus a prime contractor versus a teaming or subcontractor opportunity. Be open to that, and sending the right one. And, remember the rules. Generally, we're doing a 1 page, although nowadays 2 pages is an option, and no long paragraphs if you can help it, right? So here are some resources for design help, because I highly recommend, if you are not a graphic designer, that you hire a design or you use one of these templates. Canva.com has templates, Etsy has templates, and Fiverr.com. A lot of people get their capability statements done through Fiverr, because you can get it done from anywhere from $10 to $25. You got to still write the content, but they'll make it look fabulous. And I think that's it. What I will do, while we're open for questions, I will pull up that one that's a 2-pager. And are there any questions?
The other thing that I would add to what Miss Donna said about the point of contact is, I definitely agree with her in terms of being someone who is stationary, like a high-ranking official or the owner or someone like that, but also make sure that whoever you choose to be the point of contact actually is good at returning calls or emails. Because sometimes what happens is you miss opportunities because you're not connected, or you're not locked in, or you're not checking your email on a regular basis, or you're not available because you're in the field doing work or doing something else. So I would always say, make sure that whoever you choose to be the point of contact for your company on your capability statement is someone who you can count on to return calls and be very responsive. I don't see any questions right now, Ms. Donna.
All right, so then the last thing I'm going to share then is just this 2-page capability statement. This is DCSH construction and hauling. And again, this is a good looking capability statement. They have past performance. Their about section, they called mission, which, kind of talks about what they stand for, and, in terms of, and what their, company is about. They talk about their core competencies. And now when they talk about what they transport, because they do transporting construction materials to and from construction sites and quarries. So this again goes back to what Makeba said about scope of work. There's no question about what they do, okay? And then who they serve. And because they tell us right here. And then they list out what they haul: dirt, concrete, waste, sand, asphalt, bios, and so on. So we understand what it is that they do. They've given us examples of when they did it. So we've got their past performance. An interesting thing about them that you don't see on every capability statement, but I have seen it on a few that I like. They talk about their current projects. So this is stuff that, but these have to be updated every time. If you put that on there, they got to be updated every time you send them out. So that's why most people don't do it. But if it's something you could do, put your current projects. So this is what they have on page 1. So they have the essential data, the core competencies, the mission, the past performance, and then they tell us about what they do for these various organizations. So now I have an idea of what their scope of work is, because they showcase what that is. And then as you go on to the other page, this is what they have, what would be the reverse. So in other words, you have this stuff on the front, and then on the back of the page, you have this other stuff. But they have their NAICS codes, and they don't just list the codes, they tell us what each one stands for. They have their awards that they've won, their insurance limits, which is something that is required in their industry, and then their certifications and organizations. This is an excellent way to do a capability statement. One thing they could have added is a picture on the back too, that could have gave it, some extra pop, but all in all, it's clean, it's concise and clearly to understand. And I hope that gives you some ideas on how, you might position your hauling company, in terms of, the kinds of things you can say and how you could set it up. So with that concludes my presentation. So any final questions or any thoughts you want to add, Makeba?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the hauling capability statement that was shown didn't have the differentiators on there, which was her quandary.
Ah. But what they did though is that the reason I showed that is that even though they didn't have it under the term differentiators, they really did have them in there in terms of their, I guess, more of their scope of work, because they work in the quarry industry, which is, is really kind of a differentiator. But you're right, they didn't actually have it listed out as differentiators. So
Yeah. We can try to help and kind of get, I think just kind of what I had shared earlier is a great place to start, Irene. But then just kind of like do a deep dive on differentiators. Like Google and AI are amazing.
Yeah.
So if I were you, I would just like really like delve into Google and AI, probably pose some questions of like differentiators for hauling companies. But what's going to really help you to be able to get the information that you need from that is really understanding your scope of work and not just saying like hauling this or removing stuff from a site, but like I would really advise you to get super targeted on what it is that you actually do, because hauling is great, but that's not going to help you in a competitive hauling industry. You have to be able to say that you do this in the hauling industry, which allows you to stand out from all of the other hauling professionals that are getting opportunities. So hopefully that helps you, but we can try to see how we can help guide you even further. I wanted to, Kathy really put this. I'm so glad Kathy posed this question because I used to talk about this all the time. And Kathy said, can you email from a gmail.com account? Kathy. I'm so glad you posed that question because, girl, no, absolutely no. And here's why, because it would be different if you were a new business just getting started and you're trying to establish your premises and you're trying to establish yourself as a business owner. Totally understand Gmail accounts. Everybody has to start somewhere. But in the world of government contracting, at the local government contracting stage or at the state government contracting stage, especially the federal government contracting stage, ain't nobody gonna do business with somebody that got a gmail.com account, because you can literally buy a domain for like $5 and set up a professional email account with your domain. So if your business is, Ebo Consulting, you can have Kathy at eboconsulting.com, and it's not going to cost you any money. And that can be filtered to your Gmail account, or it can be filtered to somewhere else. But it's really at this point, like at this stage of the game, everything is about how it looks, how it comes across. And so you're going to put all of that work into your capability statement and then seal that deal with a gmail.com account. And they're going to be like, no, Kathy ain't ready. So just something to share for anybody who has Gmail accounts. Would you agree, Donna?
Absolutely. That's even worse than my info one. Yeah.
Right.
I don't want you to use info at either.
Yeah.
I'd rather you use your name and have it sent to a, like you said, but it should be business, especially if you want to play at the big levels. You can't, nobody wants to do business with a Gmail account. It's a red flag that you're not ready for prime time, in my opinion.
Correct. And that's the best way to put it. So so Donna put her email down at the bottom. So you have her email if you need to connect with her. Definitely reach out to her at the WBDC. They have free services. They have services that, may have just a small nominal fee or whatever, but they're great, great resource. She did mention a cohort that they're going to be starting soon. So definitely reach out to her to get more information on what they have to offer there. And again, if you have any questions, so I don't particularly focus in on assisting businesses in the role that I'm in. However, I do have a myriad of information that precedes me and the other roles that I've been in. And so I'm more than happy to, from a personal standpoint, guide you however you need to be guided as it relates to your capability statement and help you to identify some resources that might be able to give you what you're needing to spruce up your capabilities statement. Her email, Lynn, her email is right above what you just wrote. So she's like two messages right above where you say you don't see your email. All right, you all. So that's all we have. Thank you, Donna, so much.
All right.
For,
And I just wanted to add that all of our, if you're interested, all of our stuff is on our calendar, our calendar of events, and that I will be providing Makeba with the slides and she'll send those out to you.
Perfect. I was just getting ready to ask you that. So that follow-up email is going to include the slides to this, which is like gold. And also the link to the YouTube channel, the link to, I'm not going to send the link to this this training because it'll actually be the first training on the YouTube page when you go there. So I'll send you the YouTube page. It's going to be on the YouTube page for who just asked about access to part 1. Everything is on the YouTube channel. So once you get the link to the YouTube channel, just go ahead and you'll see all of the trainings that we put on there. And you can click them and watch them at your leisure. And then also don't forget, you all, if you're interested at all in learning about doing business with Cook County Health and Hospitals, please make sure that you register utilizing the link that I'm going to send you. And I may go ahead and send that link to you before I leave today, just so you have that before I send you the follow-up email so that you guys can go ahead and register for that if you're interested. The last time I looked, we had 143 people registered for that webinar, and our Zoom room only holds 100, but that's fine because 143 people ain't gonna show up. So maybe you'll be able to get a spot in there, but definitely register for that because you also will get follow-up resources from that webinar if you're not able to attend or if you're not able to get into the room. All right. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. I really appreciate your attention and stay connected to me. I have a lot of stuff that happens throughout the month, and we want to make sure that you have everything that you need to be able to to perform and be ready for these contracting opportunities to add to your bag of money. All right.
All right.
You guys have a
Take care,
wonderful
everybody.
day. Take care.
Bye-bye.